Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to a video on the channel. Finally done it. Decided to play the wild card this game week, and not really going to get my money's worth out of it because we've only got till Tuesday before the next game week. So I've not got loads of time to play around. So I'm going to merge the videos this week and just have one sort of preview video slash wildcard team video, and we'll get started by looking at the team from this game week. So before we get into it, any likes and subscribes on the channel, really appreciated. Appreciate all the support. And here we go. So what we have right now is the team from this game week, and a pretty good game week, to be honest. 56 points overall, a game week rank of 1.7 million, and I've gone up about another 500,000 places. Obviously, super easy to go up 500,000 places when you're about 3 million away from the top, but you still got to take the positives as you get them. So looking at the team here, obviously was always going to captain Haaland, and to be honest, if I hadn't captained Haaland, I think I was probably going to captain Son anyway. So I've not really missed out on much of that. And plus, the downside of not captaining Haaland and then he scores is what is fueling everyone's captaincy decisions at the moment. So at the moment, captaincy isn't really a thought in anyone's mind. Saka, great performance, got the goal again. Still think he's super underrated this season. Can't believe more people don't own him. And I know it's you really because Martinelli is a lot cheaper, but defensively was okay as well. Obviously had a bit of points on the bench, but looking back at when made the decisions, I'm not really gonna. Just didn't think Ward would outscore Henderson. And same with Andreas as well, got an assist. But then I look at my midfield, I think, well, who would I have realistically put him in for from them or the strikers? So the fixtures for this game week are as follows, and it's really important to notice that there's no Man City or Arsenal game this week. So whilst you are wild carding, I do think, and you will look at it when we get into my team, it is important to take that into account. That how much money do you put into your bench this week to save yourself transfers for the future. There's 5 weeks left till the international break. So this is like a little 5 week season for me on where I'm going to go with my team. With the no captaincy for Haaland as well, no game, I really do think that opens it up to a potential, widespread of captains this week. I don't really think there's anyone to lean on, especially if you're not wild carding. I think you've just got to make do with the second best player in your team. So I think whether that's Son, whether that's Kane, Salah, maybe a Chelsea player, I think they're all as good as each other at the moment. Maybe you would fancy Salah at home. Maybe it's time to captain a defender, someone that you think is definitely going to keep a clean sheet and maybe get an assist as well. Maybe someone like Trippier, Newcastle at home to Everton. You're thinking Newcastle could keep a clean sheet, Trippier could very easily get an assist, and then you're looking at about 20 points there. So moving on to this, the big wildcard team reveal. Now, this is what we've got so far. It's maybe not what I'm going to stick with, but like I said, I've not got bags of time before the next game week. So really, it's not. I've kind of got to stick with the majority of what I've got so far, unless other people come in with different ideas. So we're starting off with Gaeta in goal. So I've taken out Dean Henderson and been banging on about Dean Henderson all season. But I do think, Forest are rooted to the foot of the table and they're not keeping clean sheets. Even Wolves scored against them, even though it was a penalty. Um, so that's how not bad, but that's where they're at in terms of conceding goals. You know it's not going great if Wolves are scoring against you this season. I think that was only Wolves' first goal of the season. And Gaeta, he's been in the wildcard team for a few weeks now, and he's just got 11 points this week. So it's a shame to miss out. Sometimes I think, someone like Palace, I'm like, if they've kept a clean sheet this week, then they're probably not going to keep one next week as well, because maybe they're not the sort of team that can keep two clean sheets in a row. But you can't really play it like that. You've got to look at the fixture, look at the team. And I think he is a solid goalkeeper for the next 5 game weeks. And that kind of links into the defence as well, because I've doubled up on the Crystal Palace defence in Anderson. I think he's always going to play and he's a reasonable set piece threat as well. And they have Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, and Forest in the next 5. So I don't really mind doubling up on the Crystal Palace defence, at least for the next 5 game weeks. We've also got Mepham in defence as well. So I've taken out Trippier, Ben White, Fafana, and Nico Williams from the defence. So quite a big defensive switch. Um, with Mepham, he's 4.5 million defender, and he's got Southampton next week. And I only really need him to come in and cover for this game week, whilst I've got Man City and Arsenal players on the bench. So, do I think he could keep a clean sheet against Southampton at home? Yeah, I think there's a reasonable chance, especially for 4.5 million. I've not really got much tied up in the defence. This game week, I think all my defenders and goalkeeper are 4.5 million. So there's not a lot of money tied up there, which also means it's low risk if it doesn't pan out. You're looking at a Bournemouth defender and you're thinking, oh, how many points is he realistically going to get? But then, Cancelo only got 2 points this week as well. And in one game week, it doesn't really matter, does it? Anyone can get 6 points or 2 points in any given game week of the season. So I'm happy to put him in for this one against Southampton. We've also got Tarkowski. He's got Newcastle this week, Palace, Fulham, Leicester, and Bournemouth in the next five. And again, he's only 4.5 million. He is a set piece threat on occasions. And I just think, Everton are starting to look a bit more solid. They're turning into a bit more of a mid table team and I don't really see a downside there. You've got to bear in mind that Man City and Arsenal aren't playing, so I have got Cancelo on the bench. So when Cancelo's fit, he is going to come in there and round out the defence with Joe Gomez. 4.5 million, and Liverpool have got some injuries at the back. Matip's not fit, and I do think Joe Gomez can play. And if Liverpool are turning into a bit more of a solid team, then he might be a real sort of hidden gem if he's going to get those minutes. Moving on to the midfield, and immediately we've got Salah. I've taken out Son. Salah's got West Ham, Forest, Leeds, Spurs, and Southampton in the next five. He had a great midweek Champions League game, and he's just scored the winner against Man City as well. So I think he's someone that has huge upside going into these next few game weeks, and he is probably someone that I am going to replace as well for Son for the next 5 game weeks. He probably will just be a mainstay in my team. Hopefully, ride that wave. I've not got the captaincy on anyone here yet, but I think Salah, West Ham at home, he is the guy that I probably will captain. Um, Bowen, he's the first player we've looked at so far that's staying in the team. I do think that West Ham have a reasonable fixture run, bit hit and miss, and starting with Liverpool away isn't ideal. But Bowen is the sort of player that can get a return. By all accounts, they did do very well in the game today, although I do think they drew it. But I think they were hard done by, and I think they created a lot of chances. Somebody said there were like 23 shots on goal, I think, but only 4 on target. So if they sort that out, I do think West Ham can be a bit more of a threat going forward. Still got Andreas as well. 4.5 million for me. There was no point in taking him out because I just thought for that price, I'm not really going to replace him with anybody any better. And he started contributing attacking returns a bit more consistently recently over the last 2 game weeks. And finishing off the midfield, we've gone for Rashford. Now, I did kind of want Zaha, but I didn't have the funds for it. Bad fund management for me earlier in the season, costing me at the end of the day. But I think Rashford's a good alternative, and I was quite surprised to see how cheap he was. I know he's coming off an injury, but he has come off the bench the last couple of game weeks, and Man United aren't scoring goals, really. So I do think that maybe Rashford, if he is fit, which hopefully will be the next game week, then he is someone that can really come in and play a few more minutes than what he has been. They've got Spurs and Chelsea the next two, but then West Ham, Villa, and Fulham to finish off before the World Cup. So yeah, I think that's maybe a sort of a good alternative player to have there. And then up front, there's no changes there. Mitrovic and Tony, I think they're scoring consistently, so I don't really see the need to take them out. I do think just because you're wild carding doesn't mean you have to make wholesale changes. I've made 7 overall, I think. But to be honest, if I didn't have to use it, then I probably wouldn't have used it this week at all. I quite liked my team, but if you don't use it, you lose it by the World Cup, and you do want to have it so you can actually get some benefit from it. So there's no point wildcarding, as in it's a free hit before the game week, before the final game week, before the World Cup. You kind of want to make use of those teams with the good fixtures, which is what I think I've done here. So rounding out the bench, I've still got Ward in goal on the bench, just a cheap goalkeeper. There's no need to take him out. And then we've got Haaland, Saka, and Cancelo. So I have taken out Ben White. I think Ben White is someone that I would look to get back in, maybe for Mepham, maybe for Tarkowski. It depends if Gomez plays, but he is someone that I would want to use a transfer on for the game week afterwards. I think Arsenal's fixtures defensively look really good. I did take out Martinelli. He only really came in because I had a transfer to use, and I didn't really want Jack Harrison in my team anymore. And I thought, well, Martinelli is someone that's done well so far this season, but he was always going to be a one hit wonder. I just think Saka is better, really, consistently, especially moving forwards with those goals and the assists added to that. Haaland and Cancelo, I'm going to want them in. There's also a bit of value in there, especially in Cancelo. I got on Haaland late, so I'm not losing too much value on him there. But like I said earlier, my team value isn't that good. So if I can save value anywhere, I might as well go for it. So this is the team. I think if you are wildcarding, you do need to plan a strategy of how you can um, get certain players back in your team if you want. Can you get a good 11 players out without sacrificing players like Haaland and Cancelo? Because if you want them both in your team, then you're going to have to take a hit to get them in if you've removed them in your wild card. So here, all three of my bench are going to come straight in. Probably for players like Mepham, Tarkowski, and Andreas. And then I think that looks like a really solid team for the rest of this little mini season we're talking about. But let me know what you think. Have I missed a trick here? Is there someone that you think I could get in, potentially instead of Rashford or Bowen or another cheap defender, that you think they are an underrated player? And thank you very much for listening. Any support, greatly appreciated. Like I said, subscribe if you're new around here for more content, more videos in the future. And I will see you in the next one.